Awakenings is a remarkable account of a group of patients who contracted sleeping sickness during the great epidemic after World War I. Frozen in a decades-long sleep, these men and women were given up as hopeless until 1969 when Dr. Oliver Sacks gave them the then new drug, L-Dopa, which had an astonishing explosive awakening effect. Dr. Sacks recounts the moving case histories of these individuals, the stories of their lives, and the extraordinary transformations they underwent with treatment. This book, later made into an award-winning film directed by Penny Marshall, starring Robert De Niro and Robin Williams, is a passionate exploration of the most general questions of health, disease, suffering, care, and the human condition. This book has a unique layout in the sense that it is not your conventional book. Each patient has their own chapter as Sacks describes how the disease and the treatment affect each individual. He also incorporates lengthy footnotes which elaborate on the terminology he uses and includes descriptions of the scientists he refers to. Sacks wrote this book as if it were a medical journal he kept during this epidemic as he recounts the advancements and the setbacks each patient experienced. Sacks' tone is factual throughout the book and changes from optimistic as he tries to cure these patients to solemn as the results become less promising and the drug fizzles out. Since he writes as if it is in a journal, the reader experiences the author's emotions as he feels them. We are now going to take a look at the disease that claimed the lives of the patients expressed in this book. This disease was the driving force behind the sleepy sickness epidemic that caused the patients at the Beth Abraham Hospital to remain in a frozen light state for decades, a form of Parkinsonism known as encephalitis lethargica. We are going to take a look at how the human brain works and what happens to the brain when an individual develops this disease. Famous for uncontrollable tics and tremors, stiffness and rigidity, Parkinsonism claims the lives of millions. Symptoms of Parkinsonism occur from the loss of dopamine-containing nerve cells. The primary area of the brain that is affected by Parkinsonism is the substantia nigra. It contains a specialized set of neurons that send signals in the form of a neurotransmitter called dopamine. The signals travel to the part of the brain known as the striatum via long fibers called axons. The activity of this pathway controls normal movements of the body. When neurons in the substantia nigra degenerate, the resulting loss of dopamine causes the nerve cells of the striatum to fire excessively. This makes it impossible for people to control their movements, leading to the primary motor symptoms of Parkinsonism. In the book Awakenings, the patients at the Beth Abraham Hospital experienced so much dopamine loss that the tremors were so bad they became still. They looked as if they were a statue or in a trance, with no response and no activity. People by the names of Rose R., Seymour L., Francis M., Margaret A., Hester Y., and many others were left hopeless due to this disease. As Dr. Oliver Sacks spent time with these patients, he realized this sickness to be known as encephalitis lethargica, or sleepy sickness. Although most had given up on these individuals, Sacks had hope. He found that although they may exhibit no movement at all, they reacted to a ball being thrown at them or a pen dropping. Rather than just being a reflex and swatting the ball or pen away, these individuals were in fact able to catch the ball or pen and then exhibit no response or comprehension otherwise. It's as if, having lost all will on their own in which to act, Sacks explains, they borrowed the will of the ball or the pen. Now there is no medical proof behind this, but this prompted Sacks to realize that the patients are still alive inside and this disease may be curable. Since this disease is a rare form of Parkinsonism, Sacks believed that a new drug known as L-Dopa could cure these patients. L-Dopa, also known as levodopa, is an amino acid that is the metabolic precursor of dopamine, which these patients were severely lacking. L-Dopa is converted in the brain to dopamine and used in synthetic form to treat Parkinsonism. Through the use of L-Dopa, an explosive awakening effect took place in which the patients came out of their trance and it was as if they were normal people. Although initial results were dramatically effective, a growing tolerance to it developed. This resulted in the need to increase dosages over time. Eventually, side effects of the drug, such as dyskinesis, harsh tremors, tics, and head bobbing became apparent. As time went on, each of the patients fell back into their original sleep and have never been awoken since. Although there is no real cure for patients suffering from encephalitis lethargica, throughout his experience at the Beth Abraham Hospital and treating these patients, Sacks realized that as the chemical window closed and the drug fizzled out, their only real cure was to nourish the human spirit. With work, play, friendship, and family, these patients will have as much of a normal life as possible. They just need the will to move forward.